The signal was weak, just a soft voice through the static double quotes. Please someone. Help us. Captain Elara Griggs froze. She sat alone in the comms room of her patrol ship Silver Wind, orbiting a quiet moon near the edge of known space. The signal, repeated, barely louder than a whisper. Most would ignore it. The galaxy was full of noise. After all, pirates, smugglers, and desperate cries that never got answered. But this voice felt different. It wasn't angry. It wasn't a trap. It was filled with pain and fear. Run a trace, Elara ordered her. Ship's AI responded at once. Origin point located. Zarian system. Coordinates locked. Elara's eyes narrowed. The Zarian system? That was deep in neutral space. No patrols, no support. The place had been silent for years, abandoned by trade routes and forgotten by the Galactic Council. She opened the full message. A trembling alien woman appeared on the screen, her skin a soft blue-green and her eyes full of tears. She held a child close to her chest as fire raged behind her. We are the Zarians. Peaceful. We have no army, no weapons. They're killing. U.S. Please don't let us die alone. The message cut out. Elara leaned back in her chair. Her crew didn't even know yet. No orders had come in. No mission. No reward. But the choice already burned inside her dot. She stood up and tapped the comms panel. Bridge. Prep jump to Zarian system. This isn't a drill. When Elara stepped onto the bridge, her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rock, was already frowning. We just finished patrol, Captain. You sure about this? That's a dead zone. I'm sure, she said calmly. We go now. The crew didn't question her. Not because of her rank, but because of her history. Elara had a reputation. She didn't play politics. She followed her gut, and more often than not, she was right. The Silver Wind entered hyperspace. Time seemed to stretch. The crew prepared for anything rescue, first contact, or maybe even a trap. When they dropped into the Zarian system, the sight that greeted them made everyone fall silent. The planet was burning. Dozens of black warships circled it like vultures. Fires blazed across its forests and cities. Refugees ran in open fields, hunted like animals. Giant drones swept down, firing on anything that moved. Who are they? Rourke asked. Elara's eyes locked on the enemy symbols. Tharnic raiders. Old Empire. They want the land. Not the people. No other ships detected, the AI added. Zarians are alone. Alone. Except now? They weren't. Elara tapped into the comm system. Open a broadcast to all Tharnak units in range. Channel open, the AI said. She spoke clearly. This is Captain Elara Griggs of Earth Vessel Silver Wind. You are attacking a peaceful species under our protection. Stop now or face consequences. Silence followed. Then a dark voice replied, Earth has no claim here. Leave or be destroyed. Elara smiled, just a little. So be it. The Silver Wind dove into battle. Her weapons weren't made for full war, but they were fast and precise. The ship zipped through the enemy fleet, targeting supply drones and troop transports. On the ground, her crew landed in dropships, pulling families into shelters and returning fire where they could. The humans were outnumbered, but they didn't run dock in a shattered village. Medic Hannah Torres dragged a wounded Zarian child behind cover. Stay with me, she whispered. I've got you. The child looked up, confused. Why? Why are you helping? Hannah smiled through dirt and blood. Because no one else would. Nearby, Elara and her team pushed back an advancing Tharnak squad. Explosions lit the sky. The air smelled like smoke and metal. But for the first time, the Zarians weren't alone. Later that night, the the Silver Wind landed safely near a quiet Zarian hill. Dozens of injured aliens lay inside tents, treated by human medics. Fires crackled. Children cried softly. The stars above twinkled in silence. Alara stood at the edge of the hill, watching the horizon. She knew more enemies would come. She knew Earth might call her back, but none of that mattered now. She had heard a cry, a real one, and she had answered. "We're here," she said softly, "and we're not leaving." Behind her, a Zarian. Elder whispered in his native tongue. They came, when no one else did. Asterisk, the official message came in cold and fast. Earth Command orders immediate withdrawal. This is not your war. Alara read it twice, then she slowly, quietly ... tore the screen in half. Back on the Silver Wind, tension filled the air. The ship floated just above the Zarian surface. Smoke from burning forests curled into space. Below, alien families were still hiding in caves and broken shelters. Captain Ilara Griggs stared at the orders again, now glowing on a second console. Immediate. Disengagement, it repeated. Return to neutral space. Do not provoke the Tharnak Empire. Do not interfere. Her hands clenched into fists. They'd seen what was happening down there. This wasn't politics. It was slaughter. Lieutenant Rourke stood beside her. If we stay, Command will call us rogue. We'll lose backup, maybe lose Earth's flag. Alara looked at him. And if we leave, they lose their lives? He didn't reply. But he didn't stop her either. The crew gathered in the ship's core room. Lights flickered. Faces looked. Tired, bruised, but alert. Alara spoke calmly. Command has told us to leave. A few crew members exchanged glances. A murmur moved through them. But I won't, she continued. I didn't join Earth Fleet to obey silence. I joined to protect life, real life, not policy. She looked at each of them. You've seen them, the Zarians. They can't fight. They can't run. But they still believe someone will help. If we leave now, we become like the rest. She paused. This mission is no longer official. If you want out, say so. No judgment. But if you stay knowing you may not return. The room was silent. Then Hannah Torres, still with blood on her boots, stepped forward. I stay. One by one, the others followed. That night, the Silver Wind became something new. Not a patrol ship. Not a tool of Earth's command. It became a shield. Alara led her. Small team down to the surface once more. The Zarians were gathered in a hidden valley. About 300 survivors, many of them children. They had nowhere left to go. A Zarian elder approached. He bowed deeply. You came back, even after your leaders told you not to. We don't leave people behind, Ilara said simply. The elder looked at her with tired, glowing eyes. Then, you are not like the others. In the distance, a Tharnak cruiser roared over the horizon. Black, spiked, and humming with energy. They're searching for the last of us, the elder said. Alara turned to her second squad. You know the drill. Hide the refugees, set up decoys, and prep the launchers. She smiled, just barely. If they think humans will run, let's prove them wrong. When the Tharnak drop units landed, expecting another quiet execution, they met something else entirely. A human-made mine took out their first tank. Zarians ran not to hide, but to deliver ammo to humans behind. Rocks and ridges. Rourke, standing. On a cliff, aimed a railgun and shouted, Welcome to our war, boys. The battle was fierce, uneven. Humans were still fewer. But they moved like fire fast, clever, unpredictable. They didn't fight like empires. They fought like survivors. And they didn't break. That night, under the stars, a young Zarian girl approached Alara. She held a small, glowing flower in both hands. "This grows only when someone protects it," she said shyly. Elara took it. "Then we'll make sure it never dies again." The girl smiled and whispered something the translator didn't catch, but the meaning was clear. "You are our shield now." Asterisk, the sand turned red, smoke rose like black ghosts. A single human stood in the open, bearing the Tharnik to fire. They did. He didn't move. He smiled. The battle for the Zarian Valley had begun. Captain Elara Griggs crouched behind a broken transport with 3 of her best fighters. Her voice was calm through the coms. "Squad 2 flank east. Squad 3 cover the medics. We hold them here, no matter what." The sun beat down hard. The air smelled of ash and blood. Somewhere nearby, the cries of a wounded Zarian echoed. From a shallow ditch. Private Keon Maddox had never seen this much fire before. He moved fast between cover, dragging a bleeding Zarian man across the sand. The alien's breathing was slow, his skin pale green and fading fast. "Stay with me," Keon said, gritting his teeth. "Don't you quit now." A blast shook the ground near them. Dirt rained down, but Keon didn't stop. He carried the alien on his back, bullets whizzing by. The humans had made a promise, and every one of them meant to keep it. Above the battle, the sky split open with burning streaks. Tharnik drop pods were falling from orbit like dark meteors. Inside one pod, General Verkin watched his display screens in disgust. Still no retreat? The humans fight for a race that is not theirs? Fools. He gave the order. Crush them. On the ground, the Silverwind's makeshift command tent shook. Elara slammed her hand on the table. "How many civilians left unaccounted for?" 72, Hannah replied. "Most in the southern gorge. We need time to reach them." Elara nodded once. "Then we'll buy it." She grabbed her rifle and stepped out of the tent. That's when it happened. A lone Tharnik soldier broke the line and charged a group of Zarian children. The guards were too far, but not the human engineer, Lala. She was unarmed. No training. Just a toolkit on her belt. She threw herself between the children and the attacker. The Tharnik raised his blade. Before he could strike, a plasma bolt tore through his chest from Elara's rifle. The children screamed. Layla fell to her knees, shaking. Elara ran up and pulled her back. "You're safe now. You did good." The Zarian children huddled behind them, staring in awe. That day, they didn't just see humans as soldiers. They saw them as protectors. Meanwhile, in the far west ridge, Lieutenant Rourke led a small group holding the enemy back with only 4 rifles and 2 crates of explosives. They had no high ground, no shields, just stubborn hearts. The Tharnik charged row after row. Rourke waited and triggered the trap. A massive explosion shook the valley. Dozens of enemy units were buried in falling rock. Silence followed. Then, human cheers rose up from the dust. Night fell at last. Fires lit the valley in soft orange. Medics moved between tents. The wounded moaned. The living whispered thanks. Elara walked past each tent, checking every face. Her crew was tired, bruised, but still standing. The Zarians, once frightened and silent, now looked at the humans like legends. An old Zarian woman took Elara's hand. Her voice trembled. "We have no words for what you've done." Elara looked around at her crew, then at the stars above. "Then invent one?" she said quietly. Asterisk, the Galactic News. Feeds ran silent until one unknown reporter whispered, "Humans are dying for a race that isn't even theirs." And suddenly, the galaxy leaned in to listen. A week had passed since the first battle. The valley still burned in places, but the Zarians were alive. Hidden in mountain caves and deep forest paths, families huddled together, safe under human protection. Captain Elara Griggs stood near the edge of a cliff, her uniform stained with blood and dust. Her crew was smaller now, some injured, some gone, but none forgotten. And now, the galaxy was watching. Somehow, a signal had escaped the planet's blockade. A small drone repaired by human engineers was sent up and out, broadcasting raw footage to anyone who might hear. Footage of wounded humans fighting side by side with weak, defenseless aliens, of medics stitching up children, of soldiers giving their last rations to the dying. One video clip went viral across 5 systems. A human soldier falling to his knees, shielding 3 Zarian children with his body. As blasts rained around him, it shocked everyone, and it started a storm. Across the galaxy, people argued in council halls and marketplaces. Why are humans helping them? They've gone mad. They should be punished for this. But others quietly felt something stir. Hope. Back on the planet, a Zarian child asked a strange question. Why are you still here? Engineer Layla, who had patched up more alien wounds than machines lately, smiled. Because your life matters. But we're not like you. Layla gently took his tiny hand. That's the best part. The story kept growing. More humans. Sent support, not soldiers, but food, water, medicine. Old veterans from Earth offered advice over encrypted channels. A retired admiral even sent armor mods for the Silver Wind. These acts weren't official, but they were loud. The humans weren't just protecting strangers. They were rewriting what loyalty meant. Meanwhile, Elara gathered her team in a dark cave turned command post. We have 1 shot left, she said. A final push to move these civilians out of this war zone. Evac? Rourke asked. Not yet, Elara said. We get them to the high ridge. From there, the ship can extract in groups. Hana leaned over the table. And the Tharnak? Elara's eyes were cold. They'll come. So we hit first. The next night, something strange happened. In a quiet corner of the cave, the Zarians began to sing. It wasn't loud. Just a soft hum. A song of loss. Of home. Of stars once kind. The humans listened silent. Many didn't understand the words. But the meaning was clear. These people had almost disappeared from the galaxy. No history books would have written about them. But now, their story had a second chapter, because someone chose to write it. A young Zarian girl handed Elara a glowing rock. We only give this to those who give everything, she said. Elara held it in her palm. It wasn't just a symbol. It was a promise. The galaxy had looked away. But now, through the fire and ash, a story was being born. And no one, not even the Tharek, could stop it. He had never touched a weapon. He had never raised his voice. But when a human soldier handed him a rifle, the old Zarian farmer said softly, Show me how. The air was dry. The soil cracked beneath their boots. But something had changed in the valley. The Zarians were no longer hiding. Captain Elara Griggs watched from a ridge as a group of alien civilians, young, old, weak, stood in a circle around Sergeant Rourke. Each held a practice stick. Each tried to follow human fighting drills. Their hands shook, their knees bent too early. But they stood tall. They were trying. Below, Hana was teaching a Zarian medic how to seal a wound, wrap tight. Stop the bleeding, she said gently. Then pressure. Not too much. The Zarian woman nodded, copying her exactly. What is this gel? She asked, touching the field paste. Hana smiled. Pain blocker. Don't worry. It stings a little, but saves a lot. The medic blinked. We never treated wounds like this. You do now. Inside a small tent, Kian Maddox sat with 3 teenage Zarians. He showed them a simple human scanner used for checking vitals and terrain aid. One boy tilted his head. You trust us with this? Kian chuckled. I trust anyone who chooses to stand up. The boy smiled slowly, then scanned his own hand. 4. The first time, he looked like he believed in something. Even the youngest ones wanted to help. Some carried food between camps. Others refilled water. And some simply sat by the wounded, whispering old songs to ease their sleep. That night, Elara called a full meeting. The command tent was packed humans on one side, Zarians on the other. But no one saw sides anymore. This ridge is our last checkpoint, Elara said. From here, we can begin extractions. What if the Tharnak hit first? Asked one Zarian elder. Elara placed a hand on her rifle. Then they'll learn we don't run. A silence followed. Then a Zarian man stood up. He had no uniform, no armor, just the robe of a star map reader, a peaceful tradition. He raised a weapon and said, "Then I will learn to stand with you." More followed. A mother of 4. A teacher. A gardener. Not because they liked war, but because they saw what humans were willing to give, and chose to match it, somewhere far across the system. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. This behavior is dangerous. One ambassador warned, "Earth is disrupting peace." Another added, but then a small voice spoke from the thea. Side. It was a young alien diplomat, trembling as she read a report. "I watched the footage," she said, "and I cried, because for the first time, I wished we were like them." Back on the planet, Rourke sat by a fire with Zarian youth. Asked questions humans never expected. What does honor mean on Earth? Why do you keep fighting when you're outnumbered? Do you think we could one day be like you? Rourke didn't smile this time. He looked at their tired eyes and said, "You already are." The sky went dark at noon. Not from clouds, but from the shadow of Tharnak warships. Every calculation said it was over. The humans didn't do the math. They just tightened their gear and stood their ground. Alarms rang across the valley. Captain Elara Griggs stood on the cliff edge, watching the sky fill with enemy ships. At least 15 Tharnak carriers. Dozens of drop pods. This was it. Their main force has arrived, said Rourke grimly. This isn't a raid. It's an erasure. Elara didn't blink. Then we show them we're not so easy to erase. The Zarians had no army, no air force, no tanks. But now they had trenches, watch points, homemade barriers, and hearts that burned with something new. Belief. The humans had given them skills. But more than that, they gave them purpose. This wasn't just defense anymore. It was a stand. Layla ran power lines from scavenged parts. Hana prepped triage stations in hidden tunnels. Keon armed 5 teenage Zarians with signal flares and fallback. Drills. Everyone had a role. No one sat still. When the Tharnak pods slammed into the valley, the ground shook. Blasts fired. Trees fell. Dirt flew into the air, but something strange happened. The Zarians did not run. From behind rocks, they returned fire. From underground tunnels, they pulled the wounded. From cliffs, humans sniped enemy scouts with deadly aim. One Tharnak commander shouted into his com, "These aren't soldiers. They're farmers, healers. What is this?" Back at command, Elara replied calmly over open frequency. "This is what happens when you corner the people we love." The fighting lasted hours. Then, a day. By the second night, the enemy had taken heavy losses, and they were angry. So they brought out the cleaners, black machines that rolled over land and torched everything alive. But the humans were ready. They had planted charges under every path, mapped every movement, prepared every surprise. The first cleaner exploded in a fireball, so big it lit up the hills. The others turned back. In a narrow canyon. Rourke led a group of 10-5 humans, 5 Zarians into a last stand. We hold. Here or they flank the camp. he growled. A Zarian boy beside him shook in fear. You okay? Rourke asked. I'm scared, the boy whispered. Rourke nodded. Good. Means you care. Just stay with me. They fought side by side, and the boy never left his post. When the Tharnak finally retreated, they left hundreds of dead behind. The valley was black with smoke, but still standing. The enemy couldn't understand how such a small group had held them back. They called it impossible. The humans called it family. Later that night, the wounded rested near the fires. Zarian mothers treated human soldiers with homemade ointments. Children draped glowing flowers around the humans' necks. One elder raised his voice to speak to the crowd. We once thought we had no warriors, he said. Now we know we had never met the right teachers. He looked at Ilara. And now we know how to fight for each other. The story of the impossible stand was already spreading off World. And across the stars. More people began to whisper, if the humans believe in the weak, maybe we should too. The last Tharnak ship left the sky. The war was over. But no. One cheered. They didn't win for glory. They won because someone had to stand. And the humans never let them fall. Smoke still lingered in the sky. The valley was quiet, now not peaceful, just still. Fires had burned out. Craters marked the land. But the people were alive. Captain Ilara Griggs stood in silence beside a wounded Zarian boy. She gently placed a blanket over him as the medics moved by with soft footsteps. Her uniform was torn. Her body ached. Her eyes were heavy with exhaustion. But inside her heart, a quiet warmth remained. They had survived. The Silver Wind was no longer just a patrol ship. It had scars holes patched with alien metal, wires exposed, even hand-carved symbols etched by Zarian children along the hallway walls. The crew didn't erase them. They wore those marks like medals. Zarian leaders called a gathering that evening. It wasn't grand, no parades, no bright lights. Just a simple hill, a small fire. And 24 survivors, human and Zarian, sitting side by side under the stars. A young Zarian woman stepped forward, holding something wrapped in golden cloth. Have no medals, she said, but we have memory. She opened the cloth to reveal a carved stone, a symbol of their oldest tree, once thought lost to fire. They had saved its root, and now it would be planted where humans first stood with them. Lieutenant Rourke helped dig the hole. Hana poured the water. And Ilara placed the root in the soil. With her bare hands, the crowd watched as it glowed faintly. Just once, then settled. That was enough. Word of their survival echoed beyond the system. Not just through the news, but through stories. Whispers. Songs. Children across alien worlds began playing pretend, not as warriors, but as rescuers. Some even painted their faces with blue-green colors, calling themselves guardians. A movement had begun, not of power, but of protection. Weeks later, when the Galactic Council finally sent ships to clean up the mess, they found no mess. They found a village rebuilding, a race reborn, and beside them, humans still helping, still smiling, still there. One council diplomat asked Ilara, "Why did you risk it all for strangers?" She looked at the burned fields, the scarred faces, the quiet songs. Then she replied, "They're not strangers anymore. Back on Earth, no medals were given, no statues built, no speeches made, but in the quiet corners of space, in the places where no one else would go, the name Silver Wind was spoken like legend, because when everyone else turned away, humanity stepped forward, not to conquer, not to lead, just to say one thing: you don't fall alone, not while we're here. *The END*.